30 grams of protein per meal is what's keeping you small. Let me explain. This 30 grams of protein per meal has been around ever since I can remember, probably gone back to the 90s, early 2000s. It's probably got something to do with the supplement era because most protein products contain about 25 to 30 grams of protein per serving. So it probably does have something to do with that. A lot of bro theory does end up coming from the supplement industries because these ideologies align with the products they're trying to sell in one way or another. Now, this is completely incorrect. When you think about it like this though, it begins to make more sense. If you're aiming for 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day. So if I weigh 85 kilos and I'm aiming for 170 grams of protein per day and I eat 4 meals a day, I would need to get 42.5 grams of protein each meal. If I'm only eating 30 grams of protein per meal, I'm now short 12.5 grams of protein each meal. Now, if I decided to eat 5 or 6 meals per day, this could work. However, in application, most people only eat 4 times a day. There's no reason to have to stretch yourself to eat 5 or 6 times. Facts are our body will digest and absorb all the protein per meal based on whatever we give it. Because what you have to understand is it still takes time for our body to break down that protein. If we only consume 30 grams of protein per meal, well then it's going to break down 30 grams of protein in however long that takes, depending on the kind of protein you consume. If you eat your entire day's protein at once, it's just going to take a lot longer for your body to break all that protein down. In fact, studies have even shown there's not much difference splitting protein between 3 meals a day, 4, 5, or even 6 meals a day. The only real difference occurs between 1 and 2 meals where you can get a bit better. So if you eat 3 or even 4 times a day, that's pretty well ideal. There's no real difference if you decide to split your protein in 30 gram portions and then eat 5 or 6 times a day. Oftentimes, the simplest answer is the best answer. If you think about it logically and how we evolved, what if we only got to eat once per day? And what if that was 100, 150, 200 grams of protein? Are you then telling me our body only absorbed 30 grams of protein for that entire day? Our species would have died out. Our body is much smarter than we are. And yes, you could even argue, what if you only want to eat 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day? And yes, you could in fact do that. However, the studies show that you can even go up to 3 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day and still see tangible results with muscle protein synthesis with 3 grams of protein per kilo per day. And even though more protein doesn't mean more muscle, because we can only build muscle at such a given rate, if we are overdoing it on the muscle, even if our body doesn't utilize all of it for whatever reason, we just excrete it out. On top of that, protein is the most satiating out of all the macronutrients. So if you are going high protein, which everyone should be regardless of your goal, you're going to be far less likely to be overeating on the junk. So forget 30 grams of protein per meal. Instead, work out what protein you need per meal in order to build muscle. So if you weigh 80 kilos, you need 160 grams of protein per day. If you weigh 100 kilos, you need 200 grams of protein per day. Then divide that across how many meals you eat per day. And in fact, if you eat 3 main meals and 1 snack, well then you're going to need more protein in those main meals than in that snack. It doesn't mean you have to divide the protein portions evenly. In fact, you may even prefer to do high protein with breakfast and dinner, then have a smaller protein lunch and a smaller protein snack. So those meals, you could even have 60, 70, or even 80 grams, depending how large you are in your protein requirements, on 1 or 2 meals per day, so significantly higher, and then do like 20 to 30 grams in those other meals. There's no right or wrong. All you're trying to achieve is that end target for the day. And there's a big debate about whether you should work your protein target out based on lean body mass or total body weight. The best way to do it is just based off total body weight. Unless you go get a DEXA scan, there's no real accurate way to work out lean body mass. Yes, you could jump on an InBody. They're still not 100% accurate, and you're better to overdo the protein than to underdo the protein. And for most people, they're underdoing the protein chronically, and that's why they're not building enough muscle. When in doubt, always opt for more protein. And yes, carbs and fats are still important, but for most people, majority of the time, everyone is under eating on protein, or they'll eat high protein for a week, for a month, and then they default back into old habits. The best bodybuilders in the world, they're eating like 300 to 400 grams of protein per day. Yes, they are significantly heavier than you, but it just shows even as you scale up, you can still continue to scale up the amount of protein you consume. Now, if you want to learn how to track your protein accurately and utilize MyFitnessPal to do so, click the link somewhere down here of the video that shows you how to use MyFitnessPal correctly.